Oh, stand still. Good boy. Good boy. Hello, my name's Dane Rawlins, and the intention of this demonstration is to show you my approach to lunging and long reining a horse for dressage purposes. This is a 5-year-old 17-1 Dutch warm blood, and he has quite a sharp disposition and is rather ideally suited to this sort of display. What I want when I lunge a horse is to create a horse that will enable me to ride him in an improved way. I require from a horse, first of all, that he's obedient. And that doesn't actually start here. It starts in the stable, it starts in the way you deal with the horse, it starts with the way you manage the horse generally. But having got those foundations laid down, I now need to do that in the training environment. I want this horse to go forwards, not fast, not slow, but at the speed I dictate, as if it's his own speed. I then wish to establish his rhythm and enhance his rhythm. He has his own rhythm, I can't change that, I can enhance it. Then, having got these two important things down, I then wish to develop in him a carriage, an outline, a shape, call it what you will, that will enable me to ride him again in an improved way, and that will help him to understand what I will require of him when I ride him. Okay, before we begin to lunge, I'd like to explain to you the tack that I personally use. I have a plain snaffle bridle on, the same bridle I'll expect to ride the horse in. In this case, it happens to have a flash noseband, jointed loose ring snaffle. The reins are twisted around each other and looped up out of the way by using the throat latch. The lunge line I have connected straight to the bit. That's because I prefer to feel the horse's mouth when I'm working in the same way as I'll expect to feel it when I'm riding him eventually. The lunge line is approximately long enough to reach the outside of a 20-metre circle, so that if I wish, I can put the horse without walking after him onto a 20-metre circle. It gives me the options that I need. I have a lunge whip that is long enough for me to reach and touch the horse with the end of the lash. Good boy. If I turn him sideways, I'll show you the roller that I use. Good boy. Stand still. Just keep the lunge whip out of the way of his face and tuck it under my arm. I don't like to drop the lunge whip on the floor at any time. Stand still. Okay, good boy. Now stand. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. The lunge roller is a padded roll at the top so that it can sit on the horse's back, or it can sit over the saddle. And obviously when we're lunging to ride, it's of no use to us to lunge the horse and have to put all the tack on. I like to have the horse tacked up, ready to go, and then I'll lunge with the equipment on so that I can take it off rapidly and get on with the job in hand. You see many horses standing and they'll lunge for a while, and then there's a half an hour pause while the horse is tacked up. I don't feel that's of any use. The roller is designed in such a way that it's long enough to reach over a saddle. There are two girth fixings, one on this side and the same on the other side. I have 3 rings in this instance. Some people use more or less, that's okay too. I have one that would allow the rein to lie about parallel to the ground where it connected with the horse's head, one that's a little higher and one that's higher still. The large rings, the ones standing up, equivalent to sort of terret rings in driving, they're really for passing the reins through for slightly more advanced long reining techniques. The side rein, stand still, good boy, stand still. The side rein is of solid leather. There's no plastic or rubber or elastic insert in it. The length I require it to be is the length that I want to lunge from, in the same way that you don't have elastic set into reins. The clips at the end are of a stout design. They're not flimsy. They're liable to take quite a bit of weight if the horse does tend to get a hold and pull, which in the real world horses tend to do. And if they break, they're unlikely to cause any injury to the horse. One of the most important things to realise about horses is that they are potentially lethal weapons. They can be extremely dangerous to the person trying to deal with them and to people around them. And it's always advisable to begin lunging in an area that's first of all enclosed, as this school is, and secondly, that is free from obstructions. And certainly when you're not used to a horse, I wouldn't be lunging with other horses around to begin with. That's a basic tack. He has 4 work boots on, 1 on each leg. The boots are such that they'll cover enough of the fetlock to prevent any accidental brushing and knocking during work. And on the lunge, you do get horses stepping out rather rapidly. It seems silly not to protect them. I think we've just about covered all of the equipment. We'll get on with the lunging now. And as the horse is going to be lunged on a circle, it's best to actually probably lead him around the circle first of all to see if he's going to respond to your basic pushing aids, your going forward aids. So I must get myself organised here. Now very quietly I'm going to pass the whip, because I don't know this horse, behind my back and place it into this hand without contorting myself too much. Then I want to come around quietly this way, and I have to organise this lunge rein. Now the thing is, I want the lunge to be able to fall freely from my lunging hand. And if it's in a knot or if it's the wrong way around, it won't happen. So what I do is the very thing everybody tells you not to do, is I drop the lunge line on the floor and pick it up, feeding it into my right hand. And just in loops like that, about 1 metre or so at a time, it becomes a very instinctive thing. Pick the lunge up, place it then into my left hand and split the rein and the loops of reins by 1 finger. I've now got the lunge in such a way that as I let the horse go forwards, he's going to fall naturally out of my hand. So, got him sorted out now. Put the whip here into this hand, so I'm ready to control him and quietly lead him forwards. Walk on, and lead him away. But I want to know that he's going to go, that he's not going to resent being led forwards, and that he's not going to try and pull back or run sideways. Okay, he's fine, so stand still. Now, because I'm lunging off of the bit, I need to set the side reins up initially. Not too tightly, but they have to be set up in such a way that if I draw inwards on the lunge rein, that I can't pull the bit through the horse's mouth and cause him discomfort and to lose the line of the work that I'm on. So I have to connect the outside rein to a long enough length to allow the horse to go forwards easily, knowing that he hasn't felt the side reins yet, that he's not used to them. So they must slightly restrain him if I pull in, but not restrict him going forwards. And that's really trial and error. Start off long with the rein and just take the head slightly to one side and feel if that works. So I'll just sort the outside side rein out now. Put the whip out of the way. Under my arm, I normally find is best. Stand still. So just clip the side rein on. Now this is fairly long for him. He knows a shorter side rein, which I will eventually take up, but it's still a long side rein. But if I draw the head to the side, there is a certain point when the head draws around at a small angle that the outside rein comes into play, and that's where I feel you don't have the need to use the nose band. Then I take up the other rein. Now these side reins are exactly the same length. There's a twist in there, I'll just sort that out. I leave these ends loose, I don't tuck them away, I don't fold them away. I need to make adjustments. I don't need to be flustered and rushing around trying to put things into keepers and pull them out. So these reins are such that they will stay in there. I put that over there, it tends to hold it a little bit better. And the same on the other side. That's good. Now my side reins are okay now, they're nice and long. This horse is going to go forwards. So I'll just again turn around, replace the whip into my left hand, because I'm in a leading situation at the moment, and walk the horse forwards, show the whip slightly behind him, and lead him on. And then what I do is let the horse start to walk away from me, still keeping a feel on the rein, not heavy, but the sort of feel that I might want if I had him on the rein and I was riding him. Take him round, put the whip round to me now, and I don't raise the whip yet. The whip is rotated in my hand like this, it's turned away. He's very aware it's there. I don't mind if he jogs or anything. I try and keep him walking, and I'm very much going with him. And I'm actually positioning myself about level with the horse's girth. The left hand is leading. It's not tucked in here, and it's not right out there. It's leading him forwards, and the stick is guiding him forwards too. He may fall out, so I'll go with him. I don't worry about it. He's going to jog on. I'm not going to fuss. Just quietly let him go. The circle he's actually on is bigger than the length of the lunge line, simply because I'm walking with him. And then I gradually let the lunge go out. It'll take up, and not too far. I need him under control. I need him at a distance from me that he will respect what I'm doing. That's good. Now, I find a lot of people try and make these horses that go off, he is a free-moving horse, they try and make them wait and walk. For me, that comes later on when the horse is settled and ready to work. It's much better to let him go freely forwards like that. That's it, that's nice. I can let him maybe have a little bit more rein. If I take the rein, the lunge into me, not very heavily, but the outside side rein comes into use. He'll feel that there. That doesn't matter, they stumble. Again, if I need to draw his head in. So actually the downward flexion, the direct flexion over the horse's spine, is aided by the lateral flexion. That's a sideways bend along his spine. And as I draw the head in, I'm asking him to bend laterally to the side, to the left in this instance. And as I do it, the outside rein comes into play, and then we'll start to ask, when the horse realises what's going on, for the downward flexion. So if I need to get him flexed, I can just, he'll resist slightly, feel him here, and let him go. Now I untangle the end of the lunge whip, I don't mind it, it's twisted round, it was out of the way. Now he's a bit uptight because I've raised the lunge, so I don't actually worry about leading forwards with it yet. Let him go, good boy. Let him just settle down. And rot, good boy. Good boy. Staying on the left rein, and gradually I'll work him out. I may move him up and down the school. I don't stand still, I walk a circle that's large enough to allow me to keep the contact with the horse. If he moves away from me, I'll move with him before I check him back, so I don't actually pit myself against him. If he falls in, I'll adjust the length of the rein with my right hand, like that, to try and maintain initially a desire to go forwards, taking account of his rhythm and a shape in him. So I need the contact to get these things. That's good. Now, quietly going to ask him to walk. And as I do that, I'm not just going to pull him back and jerk at him. I'm going to ask him to come back and shorten the rein as I do it. And walk towards him rather than him to me. Walk. Walk on. Lead him on before he stops and turns in. And I find that this stops the horse from suddenly coming to a halt and spinning in and facing you. You're moving along with him all the time. Same way if I wanted him to halt, which I do, walk towards him, feeding the rein back into my left hand and stand. Keeping roughly level with an area between the girth and here. Not so near that I can get kicked, and not so far away that I lose control, and not in front of his shoulder, or even that level with his shoulder, so that he's more inclined to be in front of me than behind me. Walk on. Good boy. They are living creatures, and it helps an awful lot if you like the horses you're working with. But you also have to allow a little bit of leeway. That's good. Now I'm going to ask him to walk. He's not very far from me. He's at a distance where I think I can control him. So I'm not really lunging him at this stage. I'm halfway between lunging and leading. But I still have him in what I'm going to start to describe as the triangle. And the triangle is formed, good boy, that was him, not me, but I'm going to allow it at the moment. The triangle is formed by the lunge line, him, and my whip. Good. Good. And now I can start letting him out. The circle's slightly small, but any bigger than this at the moment will allow him too much freedom, and he's not going to take much notice of me. He's settling to the whip, but I don't actually need to point it there. It's aiming sometime at the moment at somewhere that I feel happy with, between his nose and a line just behind his tail. I took the whip back, he's a bit fresh, it doesn't matter. Just rotate the whip behind me. He's pulling a bit hard, so I can just place this right hand over the lunge line here. It puts me slightly in front of him, and it gives me the bit of strength when he's pulling, rather than trying to pull one-armed and losing. Let him settle down. Good lad. Relax, go back to where we were. And he's just got to settle in to gear, relax, and go forwards. Move on a little bit with him if I want the circle bigger. Any attempt at the moment on my part to allow him out on the lunge will lose connection with him. So I'd rather move with him with this level of connection and then get him to move around the arena slightly. Falling in there, stand here, and he'll rotate around me, and I can walk on. So now I'm starting to use my body position in relation to him to have an effect upon him. Oh, good boy. Quietly, I want to take him up again. I haven't changed rein yet. Walk, feed the rein back into my left hand. It lies in nicely. Walk on a bit more. Walk on a bit more. Walk on a bit more. This is more so that you can see him rather than anything else, and quietly stand and go up and just take these side reins up a little bit. Good boy. And what I'm starting to look for is a level of carriage in the horse, really aided by me controlling his obedience, his desire to go forwards, taking account of his rhythm and adjusting his outline. The advantage I'm finding at the moment, or I find generally, about having the contact directly to his mouth is it's a feeling that I will adjust to get the same sort of feeling I would like when I eventually ride him. Walk on between me and the whip, lead him forwards. Good lad, good lad. Just let him settle. And now I'm going to start to ask him to go when I want him to. So tirot, good boy. And just let him settle. Now the trot's obviously a 2-beat rhythm. I don't find that any use, generally speaking, other than to actually know the mechanics of the trot. So what I'm going to look for is a rhythm within that 2-beat that I can use, and maybe something, that doesn't matter, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and just a rhythm that allows me to settle with him. He's just pulling, just call him to attention. I would if I were riding him. It's a bit deep in front. Okay, I could do with his nose a bit further forwards, but that's more got to come from engagement than anything else. Lead him out, draw him in a bit. And the position of your hand is terribly important. If I go forwards, he'll go. If I restrict back, he will restrict back. If I really restrict back, he'll come back a lot more. And you just have to feel your way around. Good boy. Good boy. I'm not bothering to change the pace at the moment. I'm not bothering to change the rein. I just want this horse to settle here. If I start stopping him, turning around the other way and messing about with him, I'm not going to get him focusing on me. He's going to focus on everything but, and start to see ghosts. That's it. Try and keep as many of the twists out of the lunge line as you possibly can. They will creep in. You just fix them when you get the chance. And gallop. Good boy. Let him have a little bit of line. Push him forwards. He's hanging a bit. Just walk with him. Again, just moving me over to one side of the arena. Doesn't matter. I just swung the whip ever so slightly round to him there, and he saw it. I'm going to bring him back to trot now. Whoa. Before he decides to fall out. And gradually I just starting to get through to him. I haven't got there yet. And some of the guides are, apart from his general demeanour, if you actually listen to his breathing, you can start to see when they're stressed or they're tense, and when they're actually starting to focus. Just beginning to get something coming through there. Canter, gallop. I'm working in segments in my mind, from the back of the horse to the middle of the horse to the shoulder to the front. I'm always trying to think from the back end to the front rather than from the front end to the back. I knew he's going to die there, so I'm going to try and keep him going. Not too bad. And now I'm going to trot when he doesn't want to. Whoa. Trot on, trot on. Reins held like this, whip there. He knows what's going on. As soon as I can settle him down, now I'm just going to let him have a pause. Whoa. Still walking towards him, still holding a wall, and then I'll get to a point when he'll stand. And again, that's for me in the beginning a nice way to stand. I'm not behind him, I'm not directly behind this hind leg, I'm watching out for things, I'm thinking forwards. If I ask him to go on, let's try, walk on. He's there, he's in front of me straight away. Good boy, stand still. Walk towards him before he walks towards me. Just give him a pause for a moment. Good boy. Now we just change the rein and put him over onto the other rein. Good lad. Come on. He's just resisting. Step over and around the whip rather than swing the whip around his head and upset him. Lead him forwards and towards a point, and ideally towards the centre of the circle, that you think you can stand him. Again, it's a natural thing for me now. I just tuck this under here. I don't think about it too much. Push it down so this doesn't poke him in the eye. Just take this rein here, very simply, so I've still got him, and just quietly but very quickly swap the lunge line over to the other side. Right, now I need the lunge line in my right hand. I'm now going to lunge right-handed. So to get the lunge so that it falls truly, just so it's not near the horse's legs, I need to let the slack fall on the floor, stand still, very quickly, and feed into my left hand. because I'm going to lunge right reined. That's it. Good boy. Starting at the horse's head and feeding the rest of the slack back into the hand. Allow him to walk forwards. The whip is now here. I have him in a situation to walk on. He's going to go around me a bit. I'm watching that hind leg. Don't get too near it. You get kicked by that, you'll know all about it. Lead him, no, walk. This time, because I think I've got more control, I'm going to start to insist on little things like that he does walk off. It didn't bother me in the beginning. These side reins aren't tight. This is a little bit his carriage. He's out there, turn the whip. He's seen the whip, he's off. You know, they know, they're very attentive, and the more intelligent they are, the more quick you've got to be. Good. Good, and I still haven't had to take the whip up towards him. That's okay, trot, good. And keeping myself slightly on the angle to him. Not quite like this, and not quite like this. I've got myself slightly turned with him and towards him. Good boy, good boy. So eventually, even though my left shoulder is almost pointing at his right hip, and eventually the whip could become an extension of that. So I could point to there, or to there. And funny thing is, if I draw the whip closer to the lunge line, he'll start to take less notice of it. He's still flustering along in his own way. He's not totally in my pace yet. Doesn't matter. Good, I just rotate the whip behind me. Gallop. Good, allow. And that's where you've got to mind, don't catch them, because that's when they'll suddenly jump over and change behind. Allow him to move freely forwards. Good. Push him on, just catch the moment. He'd have, do it again. He just would have dropped out of the pace there. Keep him going, he's still heaving forwards, and quietly back to trot. Woo. Trot on, and walk, walk, and let him stand. Woo. Good, good. And I feel actually for this horse that that's enough of a lesson for today. I just take the side reins off, clip them conveniently out of the way, bring him around, unclip this side rein, out of the way, readjust the lunge line onto this side, facing out, and just walk him on and just let him go. Because I don't just want to make him do what I'm asking, I want to teach him to do it. And if it takes a few days to get him settled, to get him into the level of carriage that I require, that's okay by me. If it takes a few days to get him more immediate to my age and to sustain a pace such as a canter or a trot, that's okay, as long as I feel I'm heading in the right sort of way. And just at the end, I just let him wander around now, side reins off. If he were really a problem of leaping about and still not settled, I probably would leave the side reins on a bit longer. But to carry on and on driving this horse at the moment, even though he's still quite full of going, I think would actually hot him up even more. I want him to realise that I've got ahead of him, that I've said to him he's got to do it, that he's had to respond. And I'd rather leave a little bit for either tomorrow or if I had time later on today to bring him out and to just do it again. And I find that's the best way. I mean, fine, if a horse really starts taking liberties, nobody's saying you don't walk on, walk on. You don't say to them, hey, come on. That's slightly different. But you really don't want to get to the stage with horses where you're actually going punishment and reward. I feel you want to get to the stage where you're going reprimand and reward. And to me, that's a slightly different intonation in what, and behind the meaning as well of what you're saying. You're actually trying to get them on your side. I want him to come round and work with me. At the moment, to discuss partnerships with a horse until he's totally settled, it's not really on. At the moment, I want me to be the boss, but I want to keep showing him a little bit of kindness, and that my way's better and softer. That's what I'm trying to prove to him, and to get him on my way of going. And that you can only get a bit of confidence with experience. That just takes time to be sure you're doing it right. And he's walking on now and he's relaxing. Oh, quietly, stand still, stand still, stand still. And whilst I don't want him to turn to me of his own volition, which he's tending to do at the moment, I would hate to think he wouldn't ever walk to me if I asked him, and that he wouldn't at the end of it all just pinch a bit of sugar out of my hand and just relax and take it easy. Okay, I think that's all we're going to do with him for the moment, and we can show you with other horses slightly more advanced levels of carriage, and possibly then we'll move on to the long reining work. Thank you. Good boy. Well, This is Horsted Bright Spark. He's 13 years old now. He's a 16-2 English bred gelding. And what I've already done is obviously work this horse in, and I'm trying to show you the progression now from the horse that we saw last time to the more advanced horse, and the horse that is now required, after obvious loosening exercises, to go in a much more advanced state of carriage. So I'm going to work him forwards now and just show you the sort of work that I would do, that I would hope would help me with a more advanced horse, whereas the last horse I wanted to get him settled, he was more of a novice to medium horse. Okay, good boy. Same rules apply. Think forwards, allow him forwards, walk on. And here you need to possibly get even a greater degree of concentration, if that's possible, than with the young horses. You really are trying to get a way of going, and quietly into trot, tee-rot, hop. Nice and relaxed, let him settle. Let him just feel his way through. So he's under the control, obviously, of my voice. My body positioning makes an awful lot of difference. Position of my hand, whether it's forwards, whether it's backwards. You can see just the effect there of drawing the hand back brought him on, allowing forwards. My right hand is now wider. I've now got him, now quietly settle him. I can now, if he gets a bit sharp off the whip, I could reverse the whip behind me, or I could quietly bring the whip back and possibly even aim it between his nose, his shoulder, his girth, or even further back. But normally you work sort of between the point of the shoulder and where the rider's leg might hang, or slightly behind. You can have the whip up a bit. If you look at the reaction we get as I raise it, moves on. You can lower the whip, doesn't matter, tee-rot. That's because he's reactive, because he's listening. Lower the whip. I can even let the whip trail behind me if I felt, or I could just reverse it here. Quietly bring it back. So now I've got a whole combination of aids. The feeling in the hand is really nice. It's really elastic, and yet it's a definite contact. It's not heavy. That's it. And obviously the circle size is a bit smaller. I can increase the circle size and maintain the same degree of collection on the horse by just walking a bit with him and allowing him forwards. Let him out a bit more. Send him on a bit quietly. And I'm going to ask him to canter, set him up, ready, gallop. Good boy, relax. Relax. I want him to jump forward with enthusiasm, but not quickly so away. Just a little on the shoulder, little checks, little up, up. Doesn't matter, misunderstanding, take your time. Good boy. Good boy. Push him on, push him on, push him on. Just losing the jump of the canter, got to push him on a bit. He's just hesitating. That's okay, lead him forwards. That's nice. Jump, jump, jump. And a transition up into trot. Ooh. And notice I say up into trot, not down into trot. You must think of these downward transitions as requiring a little more engagement possibly than the going the other way. That's better. Now I'm just going to collect him, push him up to the bridle. Now just collect him a bit more. Using the smaller circle, walk, trot, 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 trot. Okay, misunderstanding, trot on. It's because he's thinking, he's trying to be alert, he's trying to be attentive, he's being called to attention. Now he's trying to get it right. Good, good, good. Good. Slightly stepping in front of him and stand. Whoa. And my position is slightly different. I've moved slightly in front of him, which is obviously, if I get too far in front, he could step back, but it's judging the distance. You just have to play with that until you start to get the feel. Lead him on, walk on. Good boy, and trot on. Tee-rot. Good. Good. And quietly walk, walk, stand. Good boy. Walk to him. Bit of fuss and attention. Then bring him to me. I'm going to turn him around. Good boy. Stand still. And obviously the reins are shorter, but I hope you can see they're not actually very heavy. He's actually, now I say that, that's better. That's the sort of weight you're looking. He's leaning now because I'm standing here. But the idea is to get them so that they're just in contact. Not that you're pulling on them or that he's pulling on them, just it's balanced. The same weight that you would want to ride from. The same weight in your lunge line that you would want to ride from. Good boy. And walk on, allow him. I've crossed the whip in front of me. I find it more convenient as long as the horse isn't shying from it and drawing it behind me. And then ask him to trot on. Tee-rot. Hop. Doesn't matter. And let him balance. And just try and get into him a bit. Just try and concentrate with him. Good. Good. Doesn't matter. Good, good. Good. Ask him to move on in the trot, quietly, bit by bit. No rush. He may, if he loses balance, that's good. Ask him, let him out on the circle, and if he won't come back off the field, I'll bring the circle size down. Good. Good. Quietly put the whip in front of me. More in line with the lunge line at the moment. So my triangle, if he is the base of the triangle and the lunge whip and the lunge line are the two arms, is quite closed. I can open it how I like. It's good. And quietly canter. Gallop. Hop. Misunderstanding, a bit fresh. Not good enough. Trot. This is a more advanced horse. He has to do it as you ask. Trot. And quietly canter. Hop. Okay, and again, a little bit of misunderstanding over the stretching of the stride and the strike off before. You're bound to get this level of confusion. You have to get it clear between you and him. It's a very personal thing, how much aid you use. The aids are almost identical, it's just the intonation that has to be different. And when there's a little bit of confusion, this is the result that you get. And trot, trot. Bit lazy there, doesn't matter. Trot on, nice light lunge. I can let it go at any time I want. Push him on and gallop, hop. Much better, nice smooth transition. Could have been a bit rounder over the neck. Up and collect and collect and collect. And this is where we've moved on. We've moved on an enormous amount and trot. Nice transition, good. Whip behind me, that was trying too hard. Trot. And there's a difference between I don't understand and I'm not going to do it. Now what I'm going to do is actually for a short period of time bring this horse in to a much smaller circle. He was working previously on about a 12-metre circle. He's now down to nearly the 6-metre volte. I don't feel I need the whip pointing at him at the moment, but it's aimed a little towards him. And I want to collect him, play with him, collect him, play with him. Falling in, just feel the rein. And I'll walk bigger, make the circle bigger, and get him confident with me being next to him. Steady, and whoa, stand, good boy. And you start to get a much more personal relationship going on with the horse. Walk on. Good. I'm going to turn him around quietly here. Stand still. Very good. And you can really carry on developing the canter and things as long as you're sensible and you don't strain the horse. I mean, I don't believe there's any way that the horse is going to do it without being a little stiff and tense at times. You have to try and avoid that, but you have to get through the problems when they arise. So I'm just going to lunge him the other way. Good boy. And try and bring him onto a smaller circle. Good boy. And again, it's a very nice way of getting a horse into a collected state. You mustn't do too much of it. You mustn't pressure the horse beyond what he can cope with, but it's a good way of doing it without the weight of the rider on his back. Good boy. Walk on. Walk on. No, he's just falling away from me. Oh, no, that's not good. He's got to bend around me, not bend away from me. And quietly trot on. No, misunderstanding. I want that again. Walk. Good, little check down the rein just to say, hey, listen to me, I asked you something. Tirot. Good boy. This is nice, good. Move him out now onto about a 20-metre circle to let him relax and rest a bit. And good. Bring the rein in as I need it. Let him feel, hop, hop. Just hesitating between go and not go, that's understandable. Hop, hop, and walk. And stand still. Very good. Just unhitch the reins and let him have a wander and just relax and walk on. Walk on. Good. And obviously you can progress that on even further and you can get to the stage where you can really collect the horses around you in the canter. This horse isn't quite ready for that at the moment. And also you'll get days when they're more ready to give it to you and other days when they're not. Again, it is quite a strain to work on a small circle, so the amount of time you're doing that shouldn't be very long, and you should keep in mind the possible strain you're putting on the horse. But I find it an extremely useful way to progress, and when I've got a horse to this stage, this is where I would maybe consider introducing him to the long reins. When he accepts this level of lunging, I would then start to proceed with the next step. Well, we now have a 5-year-old Dutch gelding called Ringmaster, and I've loosened him up on the lunge, and now I'm going to make my first steps towards long reining him. It's a very simple procedure. I have 2 reins, one of which I'm going to pass initially over his neck and clip to the bit on the other side. Good boy. Good boy. I've left the side reins as they were from having lunged him, and so as far as he's concerned, he's still thinking of being lunged. Good boy. Right. The sort of long reins I use, especially for this beginning phase of long reining, actually are joined together. They have a buckle. They're just basically 2 lunge lines joined together with a buckle. And I find that useful for when the lunge has to eventually go around the horse's back. You get quite a discrepancy in the length of the reins. And as sure as eggs are eggs, you're going to lose one of the lines, and usually the back line at some stage or another. Don't worry about this, just get yourself organised again and carry on. But if you don't have anything with a buckle on, you can just maybe just put a small knot in the end. And I find that a really useful way that when that outside rein runs away with you, you can just feed it out and let it go past the knot, and the reins are effectively just one long continuous loop. Again, this is for this stage of introducing the long reining to the horse. Good lad. So, same as before, whip round behind me, ask him to walk on, little help in the rib cage here sometimes if they start to edge towards you. Show him the whip, walk on, walk on, walk on. He walks away from you and you can slightly walk away from him at the same time. That's it. Good boy. And immediately, without worrying about anything, he's effectively on this side. Now I've got a real mess of rein here and I find it useful. Chuck it on the floor, same as before, very quickly, away from yourself, pick it up. And normally in long reining, you will hold the long reining lines, basically, especially the slack, in your left hand, the whip in your right hand. You try and eliminate as many loops in the line as is reasonable and ask him to go on. So at this stage, I'm doing nothing else than, nothing that's really different than I was doing before, except I now have a line over his neck, not attached to anything but the bit. It just rests there under its own weight. And then I'll ask him very quietly to trot on. Trot. Good boy. Not worried about the head carries. The side reins are not too tight at this stage. We want a little bit of freedom in them, so that if I do ask for anything with the long reins, he has a lot more freedom to move his head than he would have had before. This is good. Going nicely forwards. Now I'm starting by adjusting the length of the reins and adjusting the size of the circle to get a similar feel in the right rein to that which I had in the left rein. And eventually you can even reverse that and have a firmer feel in the outside rein than in the inside rein. Think about that. That's eventually what you're going to require when you're riding the horse in any of the dressage work. That's rather good. The whip at the moment I find quite useful down here. I haven't yet swapped to the slightly shorter driving whip that I might eventually use for several reasons. One, it's just as easy to stick with the tack you're using, and 2, I can reach him still. You can see there, just a little flick up on his quarters, he can feel that. Good boy. Nicely forwards, behaving himself, can feel the line. Very good. And then I let him have a little bit more room, and at a convenient spot where he's got plenty of room to do it. He is only a 5-year-old. Trot on, trot on, trot on, trot on. I'll ask him to canter. Gallop, hop. Good boy. Straight into canter. Come on, come on. Good boy. Come on. Good boy. Very nice. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. And ask him back to trot. Feel the outside rein and the inside rein slightly. Use my voice. Trot. Good boy. Push him on. And then I'll start to feel him out on the rein. Feel the outside rein, give the inside rein. He moves away. Feel the inside rein, give the outside rein. He moves in. And if I do that slightly as he's coming towards you, you'll be able to see the effect of that. Feel the outside rein, give the inside rein. Feel, whoops, slightly overdid it. This happens, trot him on. And you can just start to get control. Let him settle down. He's a young horse, he's bound to be full of the joys of spring. Good boy. And as of yet, I've not threaded the reins through anything else at all. They're just going directly from me to him. I find this by far and away the easiest way to long rein generally, and at times we do use a more advanced way through terret rings on the pad, but that's really for the horses that are much more balanced at being long reined. Good. Again, trot on, and just feel the outside rein take him away. Good. And then I can start, still staying on the same rein, to lead him along the long side rather than just going in a circle. So I just expand the circle. Feel the outside rein and let him for a few yards go along the long side. Very good. Turn him round. Good. Good. He's still not too far away from me. He's working on a good 15 to 18 metre circle. And so he's still under my influence as such. Feel the outside rein allow and take him larger. Falling in a bit, he would do. Take him up the long side a bit more. And trying not to run other than to catch up with the horse. Maybe just the odd step, just to keep up with him. I much prefer to do an extended walk, if you want to call it that, myself, than to be running after the horse. It unsettles the horse and unbalances me. Apart from that, you get worn out very quickly. Good. Good. And walk. Now I'll position the horse somewhere that I feel, walk on, and stand. And immediately I position myself slightly on the diagonal behind him. And what I will do is bring the reins up, lift the hand as long as he doesn't panic, and over. Not at this stage going round the back of the horse. And some horses get quite flustered there, they get quite upset. It's not a problem. You sensibly either back off a step and then progress forwards, or you carry on with what you're going to do, but don't get uptight about it. The worst position to be with a horse that's going to run away is here, because he's going to get you. He's going to have the leverage advantage and the strength to take you. If you're slightly on the angle, you can actually turn his runaway into a circle. So if he were to go off that way now, I could actually allow with this rein and bring him round here into a circle, vice versa. So as sensibly, without rushing as possible, I get him used to this changeover situation. Just do it a couple of times. Move to here, and as soon as possible, I'm at the minimum amount of time directly behind him. I move. Now, if he rushed away, I would give this rein, I'd have him with this rein. So I can turn his long reining as such into a lunge circle just to settle him back down again. Too many people get caught here. I've been caught here plenty of times, and they're gone. It's your strength against his, and short of being dragged all the way around the school looking like a sleigh ride, it's not going to help you very much. Good. So now I'm there. You can see him, he's already offering. He's going to step back. It doesn't matter. Walk round quietly and try and keep this angle, this line here. I'm going to bring the whip gently over. If that flustered him too much, I would have gone round the back if I felt I couldn't have shown him over the top there. Eventually, and I would have passed the lunge to this. This is a bit awkward for me, so I like them rather to get used to having the lunge lifted over here. Again, driving mainly from the left rein, the whip in the right hand, and ask him to walk on. All the time, me thinking, where's his way out? And I don't want to face him up with a wall. I don't want him to get confused by getting too close to the wall and then him having to decide which way to turn. So what I'm going to do is actually think around the bend now, so I feel a little more right rein than left, and walk on, walk on. Good boy. Little help from the whip. Whoopee, that's okay. That means he's alive and I took a liberty. That's okay. Good. Let him settle. No, I like him to walk actually, so whoa. Bit of outside rein, the head comes up, it doesn't bother me. Walk, little bit of resistance, doesn't matter, it's perfectly normal. And very gently now into trot. Good, 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 good. And at this stage, if I wish to alter the position of his head and neck, which I don't particularly, but if I wished him to go with a slightly more arched outline, I'd do it more off of the side reins than off of the long reins. Eventually, I would want to do it entirely off of the long reins with the side reins removed. That's a progressive thing. It takes quite a while to get to that stage, unless you have a lot of experience. And I find it gives the horses more confidence. They're not getting into a situation where you're having to heave them about and pull them about too much. Good boy, good boy. The rein rides up his neck a bit at this stage. I don't find that a problem. Gallop, up, good boy. And just let him have a way out. A little bit near the boards there. So the next circle, I'll try and move him slightly. Very good. I'm not worried about the head carriage too much at the moment, because I know once he settles and gets used to the reins, he'll come back round. I've already proved that with the lunge, so a little bit of head up is not the end of the world. And quietly back to trot, tee-rot. These lines aren't too tight, he's a bit heavy there. And you just have to practice being able to adjust the rein one to the other. Think about people driving 4 in hand, they've got 4 reins to deal with, we've only got 2. You only have 2 when you ride, so it's just a matter of balance and practice. Carrying his head a bit high. Again, I'm not flustered because I can fix that very soon. Let him relax and settle. He's having a good look around. As I said before, he is only 5. He is a baby in my eyes anyway. And lots of voice. Walk. Feel the outside rein. I find that helps. Good boy. Walk on. And now I'm going to think of changing the rein, but leaving this right rein around the back of him. So I'm going to pick a nice clear path through, allow a lot, walk on, a lot of right rein, because he will need to, and good boy. And this is where it takes a bit of practice to adjust the reins enough. Now this is the stage when they first feel that lunge around their back legs, they can have a leap and a jump. And if he did, he's obviously more used to it, but if he did, and he certainly did when I first did it with him, I would actually allow this to more or less trail behind him, even to the extent of coming down here. It's not going to hurt him, even if it did get between his legs, which I would try and avoid, but even if it did, I would just let it trail. It's not going to bother me. As long as I'm not pulling on it, it's not going to tie his legs in a knot. And gradually, you can see I can let it drop below the hocks if I want. It can come here, I can draw it up, and it may even at times draw up on their backside and get trapped under their tail. It's not the end of the world. If you pull at it, they can get flustered. If you just leave it under its own weight, even if it's trapped right under the root of the tail, they're not going to bother. It'll give you the opportunity, when they relax, stop clamping their tail down, and when they just come to you, it'll probably fall out under its own weight. It's probably wise to say at this stage that this long rein material doesn't want to be of too light a material. It does want to be something that hangs a little under its own weight. Some of the lunge lines that are available are so light that you can't give them and let them drop. And they tend, if they get caught up a little high on the horse's croup, they tend to get stuck there for a lot longer than a heavier rein, which would naturally fall under gravity. Very quietly, reins like this, trot, trot on. Good boy. And I don't need so much of this whip now, so I'll keep it out of the way. Good boy. And immediately I'm going to find that I have a much greater influence, particularly with the outside rein, on his shape. Good boy. Good boy, good boy, good boy. And I can just quietly ask him, with a little bit of movement of the rein, to lower his head and neck. He's going to resist slightly. I can feel him blocking on this left rein. Ah, there. And it'll always be, as in riding, the give that makes the horse loose. The taking is sometimes what you have to do to position them. The giving is the bit that's going to allow them to come through and to let themselves loose through their jaw and their back and their hind legs. Let him feel that. Allow him quite a bit of room. The next point where he's liable to rush away is in the canter strike off. So again, I leave this with enough slack to allow for that. Quietly forwards and gallop, hop. Good boy, good boy, good boy. Now, if I suddenly start pulling this rein until it's at the right angle, it's going to ride up under his tail, so I won't. Just let it follow around behind him. This is good. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Push him on. He's backing off. Go on, get on. And that's where I find actually holding the lunge whip like this, it doesn't intimidate the horse. If I lift that lunge whip up, ask him to canter, he'll be looking at it maybe a bit more. There you are, he gets a bit more fraught. He must eventually get used to that, but why should he get used to it straight away? Let's give him a bit of time. He's a bit unsettled there. Rot. First opportunity, I'll reverse this lunge whip. Good boy, nice and freely forwards, thinking forwards. He's not thinking of running away, just keep feeling with that inside rein. For me, I feel as long as I can bend them slightly, I've got them. If they really stiffen away against this rein, the left rein, that's the tendency, that the time when they may have the tendency to turn away and rush off. So you just have to keep that bend. Good boy. So this is no more than really double lunging. It's just getting the horse used to the auxiliary rein, the secondary rein rather. Walk on, walk on. Good. Now I want him to change. Again, they're going to be quite large adjustments. Walk on, try and keep them moving when they do that, on the rein. Turn him around here. Okay. Now if I feel these reins in my left hand are getting in a mess, no problem. Keep them clean, adjust them. As long as you do it away from you. Keeping an eye on the horse, and don't adjust them at inconvenient times. If the horse is leaping around the place, just hang on to the reins. Don't start trying to make it all look neat and tidy when he's trying to take you off to Timbuktu in his own sweet way. Good, the whip is in the wrong place. This will stop a horse here. So as soon as the opportunity presents itself, I think he'll quietly over the top and over here. So still walk, he saw the whip, he just overreacted, that's okay. But now I have the outside rein, I can feel him on the outside rein. Good boy. And now I'm going to just start playing with him around the school and taking him places, turning him around here. Drop the right rein, it's ridden up. He's just a bit worried as I changed over direction there. That's no problem. Good. At the moment, he's not too bad with this lunge whip. I think I'm just going to be careful that he doesn't over worry about it and think it's too much driving, and I can just rotate that around behind me. I sometimes find that it's just as well to give him a little slap with the long reins on the croup just there, on the haunches rather, just there, and just say to him, hey, come on, go that way, rather than use the whip on him. Good. And what I initially want to do is basically get some steering and some trust from him. Obviously the side of the school is going to help me here, and I can stand again at this angle. I'm not too close. I don't want to get hurt myself. I don't want to upset him. Good. Bring him round. Allow with the right rein more than you might think for the turn. Walk on. Okay, good boy. I've actually turned the whip to the other side because his quarters were falling out. That's nice. Good. Good. Adjust the length of the reins. I'm a bit too much behind him. He's a bit worried he can't see me. Let's change that. I'm here, don't worry. And obviously I'm talking to explain to you what I'm trying to do, but normally I'd be talking this much anyway to try and keep a line of communication open with the horse. Turn him, he's a bit blocked on this right rein. And interestingly enough, when you ride this horse, he can get a bit blocked on the right rein. Good boy. I'm going to take him up the long side, let him just see the whip on this side. Oh, good boy. I'm a bit more behind him now. Walk. Walk. Good boy. Turn the whip behind me so it doesn't bother him. And immediately I rotated that whip around here, leave the lash trailing behind. He's relaxed. Push him on. And I can start to play with him. I can start to ask him maybe as he goes down the long side, by altering my position, maybe to go a little bit sideways. Very carefully, I don't want to bang on the wall. Just bend him this way a little bit. And immediately takes 2 or 3 steps, relax, whoa, good boy. The rein's ridden over his neck, it's totally unimportant, just want his confidence. Good, still going slightly sideways, that's rather nice. Change the reins back over the top, good. And depending on the horse, you can sometimes guide more. He's just steering away there, that's not good enough. Walk on. Walk on, he's hollowing, he's not listening. Push him on, make him relax, let him relax. Some horses are better actually driven with the reins around them, and some are happier when you're slightly on the angle and across here. And eventually, for more of the lateral work, you certainly would want to be steering from this slightly angled position. But you have to teach the horse to go straight first. And probably as important as all your other aids, it's where you stand in relation. He's falling out now. If I stand over here, he hesitates, and then he'll come back in where I want him. Change the rein across the school. Walk on. Good boy. A little bit worried, he can't see me, he's just wondering where I am. Gone a bit drunk. That's okay, that's quite normal. I mustn't get into a tug of war, he's jogging, it doesn't matter. And change the other way. Good. Good. And this is all quite normal. This horse isn't that advanced with the long reining, and he does wonder when he can't quite see you. And don't forget what wide peripheral vision horses have. If he can't see me, that's when he doesn't quite know what I'm up to. Change him across the school. Now, if he walks in a straight line like this, I'll stay exactly in this position. Were he to start wandering off to the right, I'd probably move over. Now there's a point where I change the rein, and it's probably just as it would be when you ride, when you change the bend. Lift the rein up and over. The rein's caught on the terret ring there, it's totally irrelevant, it doesn't matter. Walk on, walk on, walk on. Good. Good boy, walk on. Walk on. And there he just backed off of it. That's good. Walk on. Now let's just try a little bit of shouldering. Reins on this side, I'm pushing as you would from the right hind through to the left front. And you can go up there, that's good. All the time just watching, I'm a little nearer to him now. He's pulling me into the school, so I steer him back and then repeat the angle I'm looking for. Good. 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 And if you can do this all at walk, as long as they'll walk on enough, it's much better. Good. 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 Let's just see if he'll leg yield over to that side. I'm still on this side, and then we can add the bend and we start to get a bit of half pass. A little check on the right rein, maybe a little slap, hollowing, it doesn't matter. Good boy. And the beginning, the slight beginning of the half pass to the left. And it's often easier when you're coming on long reins to do it that way initially. Rather, where you would normally turn right, half pass right, it's sometimes better on long reins when you're beginning to turn right and use the fact that he's likely to walk away from you to half pass there. This is much better. Much better. Much better. This is quite good. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. You could have a little more bend. Now I can go into shoulder and right. Now I can get clever and change it into leg yielding right. Good. Oh, good. He accepted that well. That's nice. Good boy. Now back into shoulder in right, lifting the reins over. And now I find this way of driving over the top of him a much easier way to go. He gets less worried. Now I'm going to change the rein back over to the right-hand side of the school. This is good. Walk on. Walk on. This is nice. He's not running away from me. He's marching nicely forwards. Good. Good. Now maybe I can try a bit of leg yielding to the right. Little check on the left rein, see if it's good. Very good. Very good. That's nice. He's crossing over. Change the rein. Bend him left. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. Just hesitating. Make him walk a circle just to listen. He backed off behind my driving aid. So rather than get into a fluster, we just carry on. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. Walk on. Round the corner. Good boy. Good boy. This is better. Now, just to help me on the next time, I'm just going to change this whip over the top. More over the top of me than over the top of him. Walk on. Walk on. And see if we can just get him to head off to the right. He's now aware of the position of the whip and he's much easier to push away. Alter him. No, he's blocking a bit. Not listening. That's okay. All perfectly normal. Trotting a little bit. That's good. Whoa. And the thing, especially with a very big moving horse like this, the trot is obviously going to be very rangy. And if you keep on trotting him in the sort of trot you can cope with on the long reins, you're probably liable to find out that you're going to restrict the trot. And if you trotted him in the sort of trot you would like him to trot in, you're liable to restrict yourself somewhat. That's better. Moving away. Bit of leg yielding. Let's see if he'll accept it. Increase the right bend. Good. Good. Good boy. Shoulder in left. See if he'll accept that. Very nice. Good boy. And a nice, easy, fluent swap over. So this is now becoming of use to me with a young horse, because now he's trusting actually crossing his legs somewhat, stepping through, not getting too much angle. Walk on. That's it. Stay over here. Good. Good. If I can just encourage him over with the whip, that's okay. That doesn't matter. That's it. Obviously seen a ghost standing on the bank. No problem. Good boy. And now I'm just going to, in a very relaxed way, or as relaxed as I can, let him jog to your dot. Very much at this angle, trot on. And very much initially, really walking, whilst I'm sort of behind him, I'm on the edge of a circle. Let's see if we can take him large into shoulder in. Not bad. Good boy. Walk on. Trot on. I'm just going to stand in here because I've got my shorter whip. Stand. And now he's beginning to listen. I think I could use the shorter one to more effect. Walk on. Good. And now where I might need a slight touch of the lash, trot on. Up. Put shoulder in. Just shying a bit. That's okay. Falling in a bit. That's okay. Just abandon it. Circle. Do it again. Good boy. He's a little bit tense. Just walk, walk, and just walk him by what he's looking at. No problem. Maybe still slightly shoulder in. He's not going to take liberties. Oh, good boy. That's it. It's perfectly normal. Why shouldn't he look at things? And trot on again. Trot on. Now I'm going to try and change the rein. And the hard thing is sometimes when you've been taking them sideways to make them realise when you don't actually want them to go sideways. That's quite nice there. Change the bend, same as before. Only the odd jog to keep up. Good. Good. Trot on. Trot on. Good boy. Good boy. Bit of shoulder in. Good. And I cut the corner there. Better than running around behind him. Good. Left rein. Put him back to the track. He's falling in too much. Good. And you can see the side reins are playing a lesser and lesser role. Good. Around the corner. Good. Let him stand for a minute. Whoa. I think I need a rest as much as him. Stand still. Good boy. And I'd like to maybe see if he'll take a step back, even if he comes back a little crooked, and see if he's got the confidence to come. Oh, not bad. And haven't even practiced that. A good boy. Stand still. Stand still. Now I walk forwards. Stand still. Now walk on. Walk on. Good. And stand. Because then obviously you don't want him to learn to run back and rush back. A little bit hollow there and just stand. Very good. Very good boy. And obviously I don't want him rushing back in the rein back, so I want him to think forwards immediately afterward, after he's taken a couple of steps. I certainly don't want him rushing back into me if I'm long reining him. But if I can get him just to accept the step back and immediately walk forward so that he thinks forwards in the backward steps, and then I can reward him and pat him. Very good. Very pleased with him. Take the side reins off. Give him a bit of sugar because I know he likes it. Come here. Here. And whatever you do, just don't let your horse wander about the place like that, because it just upsets people and it's not the thing you're supposed to do. And, well, who cares what everybody else thinks? Have fun. Good boy. With a more advanced horse, you can actually use the development of the long reining techniques to enhance some of the work you're trying to do. In particular, the piaffe work and the beginning of passage work and things like that. And it gives you a good opportunity to study it from the ground. Again, you have to just watch the back legs. You do tend with the more advanced horses to get a bit closer up on them. It gives you a better feeling. By this stage you know them, but don't take anything for granted. Okay, young man, walk on. Good boy. Go on. Go. Up. Oh, good boy. Walk. Good boy. Good. Good boy. Good boy. And trot on again. Trot on. Good boy. Oh, good boy. Okay. Oh, good boy. Walk. And again, up, up. Oh, stand. Good boy. Good boy. Come back. Come back. Come back. Good. Walk on. Stand. Come back. Walk on. Stop. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Oh, he's a good lad. Well, there you are. It's just a little glimpse of some of the more advanced work you can get into with long reining the horse for really attempts at piaffe and passage and things like that. You can develop the long reining technique way beyond this. And there are people who are very clever at getting horses doing even up to one-tempi changes and canter pirouettes on the long reins. That becomes a little bit of an art in itself, but really what we've tried to show you here is just how you can make basic use of the lunging and the long reining techniques, or certainly how I make use of them and how I find they help me in my day-to-day riding and appreciation of the horses.